Welcome to Ship of a New Story and the Learning Society event that we're hosting here. My name is Stella Nordahl and I'm part of the crew members aboard the Ship of a New Story. We're setting sail for what is best for the world, and this is one out of 70 events during the Swedish political festival called and democratic dialogue arena called Almedalen. If we would find an English word for it, it would be Commons Valley or something like that. With me today, I'm very glad to say hello to the two hosts of this this specific event, Bert-Ola Bergstrand and Michael Siljan, and you're going to give us some framework around the learning society and learning societies. So welcome, Bert-Ola and Michael.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So I'm actually wondering, what is your, so far during Almedalen 2021, what is your biggest learning yourself, talking about learning and learning society?
Well, I think my reflection is that overall is that people seems to be starting to adapting to a bit of digital checking in from wherever they are in Sweden. Last year, I think it was a bit of just early awakening, and this year it seems to be many more who are participating from different corners of Sweden. So it's a bit interesting to see, and even the media sort of is coming on board. They have also the big newspapers and TV channels. They also do a little bit similar. So that's my takeaway. Also, we had another Almedalen, the project manager for Almedalen was part on Sunday on Clubhouse, and I think that was a bit interesting to see and totally new for them to be a bit in the new media. So it's something we see signs where the new and the traditional arenas are coming together and tools.
And Michael, you have been to Almedalen for how many years?
Yeah, I've been to Almedalen for 7 years in a row, from 2013 to 19, and then of course not since, but we did our digital event last year. That was amazing.
Yeah, we managed to have the same spirit, I would say, even if Almedalen was postponed last year. So we set sail with the Ship of a New Story last year also. So, and what is your greatest learning or biggest learning so far? This is the fourth day of the Almedalsveckan. So what do you say, Michael?
Yeah, like digital will of course never replace physical events. We can see that it's not 40,000 people showing up in digital version of Almedalen, and it's not the same meeting people digitally. We all know that. We are sitting at home in Zoom calls for over a year now during COVID, but certainly there is also like a greater accessibility of digital as well. People you wouldn't even connect with if you went to Almedalen. You've been connecting with on Zoom and on Clubhouse nowadays. So the hybrid version, after COVID is over, is certainly something we look forward to. How do we connect the world even broader and wider? Because how do we make Almedalen global is the question then for the hybrids way. And how do we bring even more people into a world where we truly want to co-create the future? So.
And co-creation is actually the theme of the day aboard the ship. This is one of the first events during the day on the ship. We have parallel sessions and so on. So why not take it away, Bert-Ola? You have prepared the presentation of the framework of the Learning Society. So I'm going to screen share this for you. I'm just looking around in all of my different, see if I can find it here. So maybe you can give us a little short introduction while I'm setting up the screen share.
This is a quite comprehensive framework that is in work in progress. So I will show a little bit about the background in a few slides, how it came into being, a little bit of the inspiration around it, and then to go a bit into the different elements of the Learning Society And like I said, it's a work in progress. So by doing real activities, right, for example, we will take into account what's happening today and later today and many other events going on every day. And then we see, okay, what works, what doesn't work in this intersection between digital and physical, because it's very much about how do we bridge these two worlds together in using new tools and frameworks to we can like amplify and catalyze the human potential in as much as possible. So here are a few, this is like the starting point just to illustrate a little bit, to give you a bit of feeling what is it about.
Before you start, Bertola, start, we can just invite people to engage. We have a YouTube chat. You can find it either directly on YouTube or via the Almedalsveckan Play app. So, and Michael, you will be facilitating, I guess, the live chat there. So
and
please engage in the live chat.
And take some notes. And please just come in if you have a question, Stellan, also if you ask what is that or this strange thing or so. So like I said, this will be a bit of introduction to the framework. And the first slide here is a bit about just to showing, get a feeling what is this about. It's about people. It's about bringing different people together. It's a bit chaotic. It's about dynamic. Yeah, as you can see, it's a lot of diversity. I showed some of the core values. We are using open, random, supportive, which I think is a little bit of the mindset that will be required to make use of this in the best way. So there are many elements that you need to work on to get this learning society going. So maybe you can go to next slide. Yes, so this is just going back in time. For me, it started 15 years back today. And how we can start to co-create and bring people together in diverse arenas around the world. So the first platform that emerged in this journey was the Living Bridges Planet, an action learning platform. If you go to YouTube or like that and Google, you will see some videos and many of the activities we did 10, 12 years back. And it came, and the metaphor of living bridges came from Northeast India, and you can see a living bridge up there. This is the one of the wettest places on Earth. And it's very difficult to connect people in the monsoon area. So this was a BBC video there. So the story around the living bridges, I found quite amazing how like these trees can bring people together in a very organic way, bringing people, nature together. And these structures can also stand for hundreds of years. It's multi-generational, how you learn to bridge and how you connect the people. So I thought it was a very good metaphor to start to have the core, the people and nature as core, and the rest is like the enabling technology to foster co-creation. So it has been sort of there all the time. And these days, we speak often about living systems approaches. And I think this is really a living systems approach with people in the core. So we can go to next slide. This was one of the first arenas that we made, we can say a modern playground, social capital markets in San Francisco. I took out a few pictures there that illustrates what it is about, and social capital and markets. And the founder of this arena, Kevin, go back. He said that at least in the US, that the traditional markets had lost their soul, you can say. We need the people back, or the social capital. So they started this arena 2008. We start a new market where we more take people's wishes and purpose into account and let the people be in the core. And if you can see down there to the left or right, depending on from what angle you see it, You can see one of the main rooms at this marketplace in San Francisco, where you see people, they are around hundreds of tables, discussion, ideas, investments, like that, and really bring the people in the heart of it. Also around that is, of course, a lot of intelligence that comes out of it. How do we go into the future? What should we do? How do we cooperate? So it's a combination of the people and the intelligence and the funding. So, and really the place, of course, also how does this fit into the place where the local economy where you are part of? This is also evolving. It started 2008, and if you look at SoCap today, it's also like many other events like Almedalen. It's also evolving into a bit more digital, connected, going around the world and like that style. So we see it all over in these new arenas. So this has been an inspiration also to over the years to learn from how do we create these new hubs or new playgrounds, as we say. Yes, we can go to the next one. Yeah, was one of our many events the last 10, 12 years, developing this framework learning society, a lot of prototyping. We did this in 2017, where we did an event over a few days when people came in from different places, told their story, and also what we can do together. We call it the Impact Playground. So I think that this time it was 12 cities from Brazil, from San Francisco, from Sweden, Norway, Germany, and so forth, doing it. Yes, next. Here is one, as you will soon see in the Learning Society framework, there are like different elements. What we find out is we need both to find the values and the purpose of the people. What do people want with the activities? And how do we measure it? What is like, how do we keep track of the values that are created in meeting places? The others, how do we create sort of a journey where people come together after? Because often we go to events and like, okay, that was a great meeting place like Almedalen and a great connection. But what do we do after, and how do we keep the fire alive, so to say? And what tools do we need for this? So there is a need for different elements that makes this co-creation or this building of people together in a more efficient way. So here you can see the 2016 journey, the summer journey, where we brought different activities like we do right now and with Almedalen from different places in a simple calendar, from Future City in Hong Kong to San Francisco Exponential Mindset Singularity University, the People's Meeting in Arendal. You can see the crowd pitch from Bangalore in India, Water Week Stockholm. So in a way, you can bring the digital into different places and build a hub where you connect the different people. So this is an important element, and you see something there. Let's go to the next one. Now we come into more the Learning Society framework there. And like I said, it's a methodology framework for shared sustainable creation, value creation. It consists of 4 elements, but starting with the Learning Society, it's a narrative also that in order to bring both the cities and the rural communities together, the entity or at the level of action or analysis or whatever word we speak about, it's societal level we are operating at. And there is a concept called learning organization, and that's very much focused on the organizational level. But we take this model one, can say level higher at societal level. So a learning society for us is more that it includes everyone from the individual people, the organizations, but also the institutions and places. That's a bit the difference. So trying to enable the learning at all different levels. And there's 4 components, which I just started a little bit of introducing. We have what we call the charter. And charter is sort of a future accounting system. So how do we measure what matters to people? In traditional accounting, we have the financial accounting, which has been developed for hundreds of years in bookkeeping and like that. But we also have all the new ways of looking at more, we can say, the human potential, our ideas, our ways of thinking, the wisdom, the spirituality. We have the social capital, the people, our contacts, the relations, the networks. We have the structures that will be the structural capital, the tools, the apps, the norms. If you say norms can be structure as well, if it's like a culture norm where this is how we do it at this place, then there can also be sort of an enabling mechanism that can grow resources, or you can see it as capital. So these are new ways of looking and collecting and growing resources or capital. So we need a new accounting system. So here we put that sort of thinking and that sort of ideas. Then we have the playground. And the playground is what, like Almedalen, it's a place where you meet people for the first time, maybe, or for the second or for the 100th time. It's where you find out new ideas, new potential, and also grow relations and take next steps. So it's very much about early stage of meeting people and catalyzing ideas and like that. So we need a methodology and a qualitative approach for how do we get the best out of the playground. And what you do right now, Stellan, is a way of, I think, the next step of how do we maximize the value creation in the playground. But remember also that if you do, for example, like I showed before, where we did the Impact Playground in many cities around the world digitally, how do you keep track of all the values that are created? So often we get into that, okay, we can set up a lot of events, but we don't keep track of all great things coming out of it. That's why it's so important to have a connected sort of value system or accounting system or something that can listen into the different micro dialogues or so. And come in here, Stellan, if you just have something to ask or so. And the third element there in the learning society, that's the journey. And I would say that's the core where you start to build the things. Often we go to events and I explain the playground just here, and the playground is where you have fun and you have come together, but where you really start to build the partnerships is what you do after. And there's often not a link between the playground and next step. So playground and journey is where action happens. These are the two elements in the learning society framework where you really grow action. So it's important that the playground and the process are connected in some way. And in the learning society, we develop what we call the social contract. So when you come into the playground, we'll find a way that we can simply make a simple contract. I call social contract, not a formal contract where you sign like when you buy a TV or car or whatever. This is more, let's do something, and here are a few elements that it's good to keep track on. Who started this initiative? When do we meet next time after we have been in the playground? I can't see now. And so forth. And the fourth element is the lab or toolbox or something. And when I speak about lab or toolbox, it's not the toolbox that we had when we were building a house or a hammer or nails or something. This is a tools for the knowledge and the people economy. So it's so tool here, so maybe a mindset tool. How do we think in the new economy? It can be a tool for how do we finance the new economy, crowdfunding tools. It can be ideation tools, that sort of tools. And you need the thinking around these type of tools also in a systematic way, because there are thousands and thousands of new tools that are popping up all the time. So in order to make the best out of your relation and your new ideas, co-creation, and put all these great things into practice, we need the modern toolbox. So I would say these are the 4 basic elements: the charter, the new accounting system, the playground where we initiate contact, start to find ideas, start to foster relations, the journey where we start to build the relations and the ideas and the solutions long term, and the lab, the new toolbox where we can amplify the whole process. So these are the 4 elements. And then we also have sort of a practice tool around the learning society, or embedded, which we call 3L: listen, link, and learn. That's more how you can say the norms of the learning society. It's like listen is what we do when we are in a learning society. If we become good listeners, and that's you can cultivate being a good listener forever. It's a work in progress. It is to really learn to listen in what people say, their real needs. And the better listener you become, and the more you have the potential to start to connect resources. And that's the point why we have a broad way of looking at resources in the Learning Society framework, the charter, the accounting system, where you look at the IDs, where you look at the social capital, where you look at the financial capital, where you look at this and that. So if you become a good listener, you can also see that, okay, this organization or these people in our playgrounds, they would benefit if we have this type of capital. And if you can start to link that, the second L, then you become more of a catalyzer and builder of these capitals together. We often use the term multi-capital. And then that we have a reflective learning. What can we improve? What can we test out? So we always have this testing mindset of doing new things. So that's how we bring this framework forward. And I think Learning Society, it's also very much about the trust. Trust is the glue in the whole system. And the connection there between listening and linking is really the core for building trust, because that's where you start to build the expectations. And if you can fulfill that expectation and be of value to another person or organization in the system, you build trust. The worst thing you can do is that you listen, but you don't really listen because you do something else. Then you build distrust. So the core is to become a good listener, really understand what they say, and then start to match the needs with resources. That's when the value creation comes in, and that's why we call it a value creation framework. And we can go to some more slides just to show a little bit here. Here we come to the listen, link, learn. That explains how do we do this? How do we make this process happening? And we can go to next one. And here's how you can start to apply this on a local level. So imagine if you have 50 places around the world where you have different mindset, different tools, different processes. This is a way you can start to structure it. So the charter, the accounting system, what type of values and capital do you have? and you go to the playground where in the city. This happens to be Trondheim city, a map of Trondheim. So you can go into different parts of the city or different playgrounds and see what resources do you have at this specific place. What are you working on? What ideas do you have? What people are there? What organizations? What are you working on? What SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals? What do you focus on? Renewable energy, water, and so forth. Journey is more, how do you start to connect these over time? How do you grow the resources from this local place? And the lab, like I said, it's the tool and tool or a lab, or how do we get this journey, this playgrounds effectful over time? And we can take next. This is one of the prototypes we did last year, Impact Playground 24. We have different formats. So over 24 hours, we try to set up so we get all the elements going from, like I said, early in the playground. We have setting the stage, bringing people, said today we will work on this, or this is the focus of today's session. The next step of the playground is very much of bringing the knowledge in, get new perspectives from multiple views. High diversity is something we really encourage. So both from an academic sense, what do we know from science, but also build the crowd in, the people online or physically, so we get knowledge, more practical knowledge and scientific knowledge, and really dig into what do we know about this matter. And then the third element, which is really connecting the dots, where we have fun together, where meaning make it's like the meaning part of the playground. So setting the stage, element 1, element 2, the knowledge in a wide perspective, practical knowledge, scientific knowledge, go deep into the topic. And step 3, sense making, meaning making. How do we bring the dots together? And often it's about having a great time. So these are the 3 elements in the playground. And 4, and we can go to next one. This is a bit of a background just to show that in order to build a digital playground, it's also important, what I said, to become a good listener. So when we make an event, we're also developing functions of who are the modern facilitators of this knowledge economy. So for example, when you do a digital event, we have the role of being a moderator, the technical moderator, the second moderator who is doing the interviews, become good in interview techniques and like that. But you also have sort of the nudger, the person who brings in people from outside and is the bridge to the world. And you have the person who are the listener, who is very good at hearing and listening to what people say, because that's where you find the values in the dialogues and start to connecting the dots. And this requires practice and training to be really good and do it in high speed, so to say. I think in the future we'll have artificial intelligence and many of these aspects of the harvesting knowledge, but for the time being, you need to do it a bit manually. And in this way, we can also much quicker in a co-creation process bring out the insights from all these great ideas and the connections that come up in an event. Normally, we have to wait forever to get the report or something, and then we have already lost the energy there in the event, or the opportunities that we could have built already from day one. You know, when I showed from the playground to the journey, how do we take this step? So this is a work in progress also, and below you can see some of the outcomes or the references from different activities, what happened, what was the outcome of the dialogues and the co-creation. Yes, I think maybe that was the last slide. Let's see if there's one more. Yeah, this is a little bit from a co-creation session, the backside of it. from some of the bigger events we did 2020. So, for example, we co-hosted an event in Norway with 30 cities. So we had a team of around 10 people doing different work, managing the co-creation sessions, taking notes, being this sort of person listening into the conversation so we could have updated information and knowledge from the events and sharing it quickly to the different stakeholders who participated. Just so that it's not, like I said, separated too much out there, because it can be fantastic energy, a lot of things come out, but no one have any clue what happened. So that's why it's so important to connecting these things. Yes. And next. And this is just a final slide to show a little bit where we to make the best use of this. It's important to go into what we call the weaving practice. This is quite chaotic process where a lot of things happening, and it's difficult to keep track and control over everything because it will be unintended consequences in this a bit of messy playground journey style. So it's important to have this mindset and this way of doing the work, to be fluent, to follow the flow, to listen in, to be open to what's happened. We call it open, random, and supportive. Like that, if you have that sort of practice and thinking, it will be easier to navigate and catalyze a framework like the Learning Society. Yes, I think that was the basic of the Learning Society framework. I think we are in good time. This around half an hour now. And if any question, you can go to learningsociety.net, learningsociety.net. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Patiola, for a fantastic presentation. I'm actually right now looking for all of my the Zoom controls. They went away. I don't really know where they went. So I am.
You have to sit here the rest of the day.
Yeah, probably. So do you now see the start of the ending movie? Is that okay? Is that right? No?
Yes, absolutely. I think
no, you don't see it, right? It's black, isn't it?
No, it's black. It's just black.
It's black. Okay. So I guess we have to just end this meeting. And if there is anything else you would like to say, I think you have turned off your video. And so what I'm looking for.
I think that was the basic. It can, of course, be a bit abstract when you just see it up and down. We have been into these details for many years in different elements. So normally this would be more automatic if you participate. This is more maybe for a person who are thinking on building new arenas and like that. And we have tested with so many people around the world now, so we know it makes sense to most people who are into it. They see the needs of the different elements and the missing points and what is needed to bring different pieces together. And it's a very good, I think, for people working in the knowledge economy. There will be so much work opportunities in developing tools in the intersections of all this, like just to develop a future accounting system or new tools for co-creation or harvesting knowledge or funding or whatever. There are gaps all over to develop, so you build a better learning society.
Now I found my stop share. Whew, that was it went away somewhere. I hid it before because I didn't want it to interfere with the presentation. So, but I actually have a question here. As you have been managing a lot of those playgrounds, so I understand that the framework is one thing, and then you have to fill it with people and topics and stuff like that. So, to arrange a playground, would you say there is like a optimal, maybe it's not the right word, but at least some kind of a lower number of people arranging it? Or I mean, what kind of a group should I set together to make it happen?
Yeah, I think we have also experimented so much about in digital playgrounds and physical, so it shifts. It's a little bit different in size and how you work with it. In order to work with co-creation digitally, one of the learnings over the years is that it requires a lot of preparation of the brain in order to work digitally with co-creation. Because it's one thing to make a like on Facebook or share a post, can you do this? That's not so hard to get people, can you like the post? But if it comes to sit in a Zoom meeting and do things, and especially when you're in different places, that requires much more time than we thought in the beginning when we were doing this. So it's when you do playgrounds, very much what type of qualities is it? What is the outcome of this? To catalyze things, to market things is much easier than to go into co-creation. Co-creation, you need to get the mind into this. We are going to work here and go deeper into it. And that's hard because some people come into the digital spaces and they are not really there consciously that they will work and listen. They are more like in a flow, like they are surfing on the water. They don't go deep. And that's hard in digital spaces. That's about the mindset. So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the mindset as well.
I understand, but maybe there is also like maybe organizing principles that you could at least, I mean, even if you have to shift your mind, you can at least have some kind of an idea on how to do it. So
yes, so that's like I said, that's also tools that you need this to be, if you're going to get the maximum out of all these relations and knowledge, you need for example, now we are going to go into co-creation. Then we do this exercise so we can get better in tune with this type of activity we will do in the playground. So and now we go out to more like a loose, like surfing on the water mindset. So this is part of being a good in this field, and to be the facilitator of all these activities. But in a physical, otherwise, I guess it's for a good diversity, I would say 30 to 40 people. Because then if it's 10, then it's a bit too few. If it's a tight group and you work on a solution, for example, that you have been doing for a long time, then it's totally fine to be a small group. But if you want new people into, it's a bit boring if you are too few people. So if it's about diversity and bringing good vibes and building, wow, that was a really nice meeting, I think it's around 30, 40 people, something around that, when based on our experience. And then you can always count. We have a lot of numbers though. If you grow followers on social media and all this, you can expect between 1% and 5% to be active. And so if you find, I would say, if 10% of your people on social media are followers or whatever, or a community you're building or whatever, if 10% is active, it's a very, very high activity in the group. So I look always, when I build digital playgrounds and communities, the relation between numbers and activity, to see the quality of the community. How engaged are they? It's better to have, if you grow a community too quickly, you get like you have 1,000 in the community and it's just 5 who is active. Then you haven't grown anything about the potential in the community. They are not there mentally. So
that's interesting reflections, and I guess they are quite. Maybe you talk now about digital spaces, but I would say it also happens in the physical spaces. The same, maybe not the same numbers, but again,
I would say the same. Because this is so
probably
much research out there in social capital. If you go to NGOs who are active as a board member in NGO, and normally you can see that normally if you look what is active participation in research, what does that mean? It means, for example, you sit on a board in an NGO, an ideell förening or something. It means you go to meetings when you have in your association. Normally it's around 10% in an association that is referred to as active. So I think it's a little bit about the same numbers here digitally, but like I said, to go from these different states, from now we are in ideation stage, now we go into co-creation or listening, it requires sort of a mental focus at different levels. Because in the end, it's all about the people. And I didn't go that much into how the hell do you get this going with the people?
I understand that, and we're going to round off, of course, this conversation very soon. But I have a complementary idea here, and that could be that even if you have this 5 to 10% of the people that are engaged in a more direct way in the events and so on. One way to do it is that you could actually have it rotating those 5 or 10%. So you have some kind of I mean, I want to engage, but I can't do it over year after year. But I can come in during a time period. I can do a micro engagement for maybe helping out with a specific event or a specific topic or a specific whatever it could be.
Yes, I mean, that's the point. If you're in a region or in a nation or globally, the whole background thinking around this network since we started was that we were looking for this 1 to 5% first. Because if you start to connect them in different places in a region or city or in the world, then you can speed up this work very quickly and build a community or peer learning system among them, this 1 to 5%.
Have you tried out to set together what you presented here into some kind of a guide?
Yes, we have one guide, climate playground guide, a few years back, and the first building blocks of the Learning Society is already like a starting tool, but it's like I said, it's work in progress, and there are so many elements. So
what I'm thinking of is if there are, I mean, PDFs or some kind of documents or links to it, if it's possible to put it in the chat. Okay, Michael, you have been into a lot of those meetings also and playgrounds all around the world. So, I mean, this is the technical part that Batula have gone through. But what would you say, coming to such an event and participate and also engage? What is your experiences on that?
The experience is like. If you look for it, you truly understand that this is connected well. We're building now. It's like Patola said. It's primarily looking for this small amount of people that truly gets that. But in a way, we're all social creatures, and we all can engage our learning and understanding of what it is to connect especially in the digital world right now. And I guess this is a deeper understanding. I'm still super fascinated by a book that came out 5 years ago that called The Seventh Sense. That is, how do you understand the interconnectedness of all things? And that truly goes both to humans and the network society we're creating now, primarily with the help of tool of internet. So much of the connection is on internet, but the connection also off internet when you go to places and meet people and understand the connection between people. But it's not just the people, it's all the things in our biosphere, all the things that's already in nature, and all the things that we have created with our technology and society as a whole, cities, communities, places, houses, and the places we go, workplaces. Everything that we have created creates an interaction with that environment. And to truly understand that wherever you go, you interact with the environment, you interact with people, and go into that mindset. And it's not something anyone has been taught really. And that's the question I have. How do we teach people to understand the interaction with everything where they go? Not on you don't have to be super cognitive focus on that, but you have to have that in the
have
back
to
of
have
your
the
mind
mindset,
wherever you go.
and you have to be aware of it, and also having that level of consciousness to understand that you are the environment.
Yes, and there are different levels there. I mean, there are so many. Mindset is one thing, but just for example, how do you know? We know from network theory, one of the theories, the most well-known structural hole theory, we know that if we find certain people in networks, in structures, the structures of networks, then the potential is much higher that we will get so-called network effects. What do we mean by that? Information goes quicker. We have information spread out much better, shared, so to say. One problem which you often see in silos, or we say gated communities, that the information goes round, it doesn't spread. So everyone knows about the same thing, but they don't get the new blood in. So that type of knowledge to understand, how do you map, for example, the people in your city? Where is the biggest potential to connect here? How do you get, one thing that we're pretty good is in gossip. Gossip has its structure.
It's a feedback loop.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Kind of a feedback loop.
And most people are in research, if you want to read Myopia of Learning, which is a classical article on this, is that why does this happen? Why is it that goes around, and why we over-invest in exploitation of knowledge and under-invest in exploration. And it has its reasons why that happened. It's risky to go out and find new people, because that's the whole point with social capital. The knowledge will come with the people. So if we build a relation, we will have the partnerships, everything at place, and the knowledge and all stuff will come there. Often we go the opposite. We start with the information and then we go to the people.
Yeah. So it has to be the other way around. And in the afternoon, you're going to build a playground in Clubhouse. So maybe we should just say something about that if people are interested to join. It's 1:00. You find the link to the Clubhouse event in Almedalsveckan Play or almedalsveckan.info. And when you click it, you don't need to already be a member of Clubhouse, so you can set up a new account there, and you have to use your mobile phone, right?
Yes, you need an account, and mobile is how you get into it. So
it's quite easy to set up an account, and so it has two parts. One is just to get people on a Clubhouse, and then you start creating a playground for one.
And we will do a session there with a little bit of the elements. And our aim with today is to create a little bit of journey outline for the coming months, that people on Clubhouse and some people who will be in the room, are they interested of doing some things together in the coming months? And in fact, we already start a little bit on Sunday, so on a bit similar approach. So we are doing also, let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's right.
You're all very welcome. And find me and Bertola and Stellan on social media. If you don't find a link in the chat, you will find all the resources and the links in our social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever we are. So.
And we're going to do a short checkout here. So, Batiola, I muted you actually. So I'm a short checkout on what is the best thing being in a playground. Batiola, couldn't you start your checkout?
The best thing is in the meaning making, or in the often the evening sessions when you can get to know the people a bit more on a deeper level. That's where you have fun together. You need those elements as well. That's the best in the playground.
Thank you. And Michael, what would you say?
Yeah, like but also says, the deep connection between people. I've been in some digital Zoom events when we hang around for 4 hours after the event ended, and that's like the type of environment we create in the playground. It's not the hours, but it's you truly connect to people when you have done something significant and meaningful together.
Yeah,
and I would say that I think that probably that is the most underestimated and what people or organizations often do wrong. They put too much emphasis on the formal part, the keynote speaker and the stuff. That for me, that's nice, but it's the other part which is the most important.
And that is also the knowledge that had been possessed during all open spaces and world cafes all over the world in the framework of Art of Hosting, which is a similar framework for meaningful meetings, I would say. Okay, so I'm also having my checkout, and I would also say connection. I really like when you get very close to people in both mind and heart, and the co-creation, of course, it's something that I'm intrigued by. So we always end all those sessions. So if you unmute yourself, Batiola, on the ship, we wave and we say ship ahoy, and then so we just start out there. So hi everyone, ship ahoy.
Ship ahoy. Ship ahoy.
Ahoy.